Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my blogcast. Hope you're good and you've had a nice couple of weeks. Mine have been lots of fun. Recently, quite a few of my friends have started turning 50, which has led to one party and the opportunity to send them cards with lots of embarrassing photos on. I can't be the only person who does this with big birthdays. The beauty of social media nowadays is you have access to way more photos that you could use to make these cards. So I trawled social media to try and find any old embarrassing photos of my friends. Sadly, most of the ones I found also included me in them as well. And to be honest, in some of them, I was probably more embarrassed than they were, which was slightly annoying. But I did find some absolute corkers. Someone at some point had put online some photos from one of our very first lads' holidays when I was only 18 and the others were 21. We looked so young in those photos, but at the same time, I'm not totally sure how that was around 30 years ago now that those pictures were taken and we were on those holidays. It only seems like yesterday. So I found some corkers through the years to put on their cards, so that was good. Although I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily get the cards to them on their actual birthday. In fact, on the day, they had to make do with different photos sent via WhatsApp, but they were suitably embarrassed and hopefully pleased that I'd marked their big occasion. Although with one of my mates, I do have a real problem when it is actually his birthday. That is due to when we went to Tenerife many years ago for that first lads' holiday. One of my mates, on the second day we were there, told us it was his birthday, so we spent the day and night celebrating his birthday. The next day, we had to go and change up some traveller checks to get some more money. That is how long ago that holiday was. When we were in the exchange bureau, he handed his passport over to the lady and she wished him happy birthday. Turns out he got his own birthday wrong. It was his birthday that day, so he had to celebrate 2 days running. And ever since, I've had a real problem remembering which day his birthday is. I always know within 3 days which it should be, but I always struggle to get it exact. A couple of years ago, the other mate who was on that holiday wound me up a treat. He knows I have problems remembering the actual day. So he sent me a message saying it was on one day when it wasn't. It was the day before. So I sent a big birthday message text to my mate and it turns out I was a day early. So ever since then, I've not totally trusted this other mate to tell me the right date. Now, I wanted to get the date right this year because it was his 50th birthday. Therefore, I thought it would be a bit rude to get that one wrong, such a landmark birthday. So I messaged the other mate to just try and confirm what the day was. And even though he said, yes, you've got the right date, that put so much doubt into my mind. I was still unsure whether I had the right day or not. Even when he told me he was 100% telling the truth, I knew he'd caught me out before and I was still unsure. To be fair, he was true to his word. He did give me the correct day and I did get the birthday greetings sent out at the correct time, thankfully. So one of my mates and his wife both turned 50 last month and they had a joint birthday event midway between their two birthdays, which was perfect. They just had a gathering of friends in a pub in London, in Marylebone, in fact, just near the station. The pub in question, they discovered, kind of thanks to me, about 8 years ago now. They were in London celebrating their wedding anniversary. I was an usher at the wedding, so was kind of part of the original proceedings. However, obviously it was just the two of them out celebrating in London, but they were heading back to the same train station that I was going to use to get home from work. So I saw on Facebook that they were in London, so I dropped them a message just to see where they were, and they told me they were heading back to the station at about the same time I was. So I just said, well, do you fancy meeting up for a quick drink before we get the train home together? And they were like, yeah, we could do that. We've had a good day out. We could stop for a quick drink. So the plan was to do that. I knew this pub right next to Marylebone Station, which I've been to a few times in the past. I suggested we meet there because it's a nice pub right next to the station, have one quick drink, get our train home, nice catch up with them. Bearing in mind, I'd basically crashed their anniversary celebrations. I think we stayed in that pub for 2 or 3 drinks in the end, way longer than we intended to. Then we did eventually get the train home. They both enjoyed themselves in that pub. Now, that may have been because they'd been out drinking prior to meeting me. It may have been my company made it seem fantastic. Who knows? Either way, it is a decent pub. So they decided to hold their birthday celebrations there. They managed to book an area for the Saturday afternoon. The party started at 4 o'clock. However, I was at Tottenham that day. We had a home game against Brentford, and as a season ticket holder, I don't like to miss any games, and I like to get my money's worth. So I did inform them in advance that I would be there at about 6 o'clock, which I did manage. I met my girlfriend Linda on the way through, and we got the bus from Euston to the pub. First time I got a bus in London for quite some time. I kind of enjoyed bits of it and didn't really enjoy other bits. I don't know why. I think I still ideally prefer walking everywhere in London, and if not, the tube would be my next option. The bus probably coming in third. Had a great night at their party. It was fantastic to see everyone. We've got lots of mutual friends, several who I've not seen for a very long time, so it was brilliant to catch up with everyone who was there. My mate's brother was there, and I went to school with him from the age of 4. We were good mates going through primary and secondary school, played a lot of football together over the years, and he settled down quite early with his wife, and I just kept going out with his brother. So it was great to catch up with him. He's had a bit of bad luck recently. He managed to snap his Achilles tendon while playing badminton with his son, so he's been struggling for about the last 6 months, but he's just about on the mend now. I also saw his son, who I remember playing football with on a concrete pitch when his son would have been probably 7 or 8, quite young, and we were playing football. Unfortunately, he ran into me and it just knocked him backwards and he fell over onto his arm, and I honestly thought I might have broke his arm or something. They got it checked out. I think it was just bruised. Seemingly, the young lad didn't remember the incident, but his dad told him to ask me about it, saying his arm was still aching. He was fine, luckily, and he's now 24, this man. So if we did play football now and ran into each other, there's a fair chance it could be me who would be the one who falls over. Due to the acupuncture, my headaches are getting much better, so I am feeling like I'm able to relax and feel like having the odd drink now. It was a great atmosphere. I was around mates. We were having a fantastic laugh. So I did have a few pints of cider, which would not be my first choice, but unless they've got gluten-free beer, which this pub didn't, then cider is the best choice. As I was standing around chatting, they had those quite tall tables that you normally sit at with a stool, but they're great for standing around and having a chat while you rest your beer on the table. So I was doing that. My cider was there. I was talking away, having a good time, relaxing, enjoying myself. Not looking, I reached down to pick up what I thought was my pint of cider, took it to my lips, took a quick sip, instantly realised it wasn't cider, but it was lager. I am a celiac, which means I'm on a very strict gluten-free diet. Even the tiniest small amount of gluten I consume can make me very ill. Therefore, as you can imagine, as soon as I realised I'd taken the wrong drink and had some lager in my mouth, I panicked quite a bit. For a second, I wasn't sure what to do. I just froze there, holding it in my mouth like a hamster, and then I dashed to the toilet and spat it straight out in the sink. At that point, I had no idea if I'd accidentally swallowed any, so I've just waited to become a bit ill, and it does really affect my stomach, and it can cause problems quite quickly. I was really annoyed with myself. It was such a silly mistake, a lack of concentration, not looking and checking what I was going to drink, which I really do need to do now. Although weirdly, before being a celiac, in those situations, I don't think I'd ever actually picked up the wrong drink before, and it wouldn't have mattered previously. However, thankfully, my actions of going to the toilet and spitting out the liquid before I consumed any seemed to save me. Thankfully, I didn't receive any particular issues as a result of that. As it was a joint party for my 2 friends, husband and wife, who were both 50, they brought out a cake and we sang happy birthday. On the cake, they put 100 on it. They combined their ages, which kind of amused me and also terrified me because, yes, they basically got 100 years of life and experience between them. They blew out the candles. Everyone had a nice slice of cake except me. Wasn't gluten-free, but that's fine. I'm not complaining, by the way. I fully accept that. And I was just quite happy to be out having a laugh with friends and having a few ciders. It was quite a quiet pub. It's the kind of pub that's normally used during the week for lunchtimes and sort of after work drinks. So it doesn't get that loud, doesn't get that rowdy. It's very low key. The party were there from 4 o'clock. Everybody was having a few drinks. I think they done rather well behind the bar out of us. At one point, my mate decided to try to do a bit of moonwalking, which I didn't even know she could do. And that just meant there were some people whooping and cheering. That caused the bar manager to come over and ask us to be quiet with the threat that if we didn't keep the noise down, he may ask us to leave. I mean, we weren't really causing that much bother and we were spending good money at the bar. Anyway, it was all fine. We stayed until closing time. Had a fantastic night. So much fun catching up with everybody and lots of great photos from it as well. Because what I'd realised, most of my friends have families now, so they have children, so they don't get out quite as often as we used to, and they kind of move in different circles to me and do different things. So I did kind of realise we didn't really have any up-to-date photos of lots of my mates, so we managed to put that right. Got some great shots of all of us, so I was very happy with that. It was a brilliant night out, and on the back of that, we are now planning on all going out for a Christmas meal together in December, which will be brilliant. I mentioned a couple of months ago that I finally got round to watching the original Beetlejuice film at my girlfriend's insistence because she had seen the original, really liked it, and wanted to see the sequel that was coming out. Last Saturday, we went and saw Beetlejuice, the sequel to the original that I had only recently watched. I enjoyed the original. I thought it was very funny. I think I avoided it at the time it came out because I thought it was too much of a horror, and I don't like horrors. It's not. It's just a silly comedy. We went to the cinema to see the new one, which is always an event. I'm not the world's biggest movie goer, but I'm getting better, to be fair. My girlfriend really enjoys it, and I don't mind it now, actually. I've gotten quite used to it. We always tend to book the same seats in the cinema we go to. The second row from the back, there's some middle seats, but they've got like a block in the middle. So there's only ever going to be someone sitting beside you on one side, and it's a great view from there as well. So we booked our normal seats there. The film, I thought, was brilliant. The lead characters were fantastic. The new additions to the cast were brilliant as well. All the favourite characters returned, and it was as hilarious, as silly and stupid as the original. I actually thought maybe the storyline to the second film was slightly better and slightly cleverer, but there were lots of nods back to the original. If you were a fan of the original Beetlejuice film, you should see this new version. You will not be disappointed. They've done a great job with it. Michael Keaton, 72 years old and still absolutely amazing as Beetlejuice. I said this previously when I talked about the original film, but I think we all know someone in life who is a bit like him, a bit over the top, a bit annoying, a bit loud. I kind of get that. Winona Ryder was fantastic as well, and I like what they did with how she'd progressed into her adult life. We've not given any spoilers away. It made sense from the original, and it also made sense in current day as well, which was a stroke of genius. I once saw her in the town where I live, very briefly disappearing into an Indian restaurant when she was going out with JK from Jamiroquai, who lived in the same town as me. I only caught the back of her head, and it was hardly a celebrity meeting, but I do feel like there's some connection there, possibly. Great film, really enjoyed it. Afterwards, we went and had a traditional meal for us at Prezzo, which is next door to the cinema. That was really nice. Just a nice night out, a funny film, and dinner after. What's not to like? I have problems with my hearing in one ear that I only discovered in the last 4 months due to a hearing test it was suggested I have at the hospital. My left ear is fine. My right ear, I've got the hearing of an 80-year-old, and they're not totally sure why the hearing's so bad in one ear compared to the other. So they were doing some tests. They sent me for an x-ray. Then I didn't hear anything back about the x-ray until I suddenly got an appointment for a CT scan. So I went for that the other day at a hospital in Amersham. They had a mobile unit there, which was fine. It was very quick. The CT scan, straight in, straight out, didn't take long at all. I was still waiting to hear the results on that and see if there's anything they could do or anything I need to be particularly worried about. But when did parking get so complicated? I'm old enough to remember public car parks where they had a coin machine. You had coins, you banged your money in the machine, you got a ticket straight away. It took no time at all. You could get on with your day. Now, nowhere seems to have any ticket machines that take money. Some of them take cards. The only parking place I could find at Amersham Hospital was one that had a parking machine that wasn't working, couldn't use it. So therefore, you had to use one of these parking apps. Well, originally it said you could park by ringing a phone number. So I thought, I don't really want to get an app. I'll just ring this number. I rang the number to park. Nope, that wasn't working. You have to use the app. So I had to download this app. Then I had to create a login and an account for this app. And then eventually I had to pay for my parking. It took me longer to organise and pay for my parking than it did to actually have the CT scan. That can't be right, can it? Surely. Had a great weekend last weekend. Lots and lots of fun. I have suddenly discovered some issues with my teeth after a routine checkup. So I knew I needed a fill-in, which was booked in. And then I had a teeth fall to bits on me about 4 days after the original checkup. Therefore was booked in for another fill-in. So I went for the first fill-in. She did a great job, sorted it out, took about an hour in the chair. Longest I've been in the dentist chair for quite some time. It's been quite a few years since I'd had to have a fill-in. So when I'd finished, my jaw really hurt for how long I had to keep it open and why. Just not used to keeping it open for that long. And also that's probably the longest I've been silent in quite some time as well. So she fixed the first fill-in, no problem. At this point, she'd been pondering the other tooth that needed a fill-in and wanted to do a further x-ray on that. Having looked at the further x-ray, she decided the tooth was more damaged than she thought, therefore it would need a crown, not a fill-in. So all of a sudden, the price of my dental work has gone up quite a bit. There were 2 crown options. There was the NHS one, which was basically a metal crown, so your mouth would have some shining metal in it. I am quite a vain man, I'll be honest, so I had to go for the private option, which means it's a porcelain crown which will fit on your teeth. It'll be white, of course, and won't really show up as much. I had a crown done about 10 years ago now, and the dentist who did that one did a fantastic job, and you can't really tell. I have no idea which tooth has the crown. It looks that good, and that was a white one. Therefore, I had to have a white one this time, although it is double the price of having the NHS one. So ouch there, and ouch again when she does the work. I've had the first part done, so I've had it all drilled out and cleaned, and I've been measured for my crown. I've now got a temporary cap on it while they build the crown and get it delivered. So I've got to go back and get that fitted. Hopefully that'll be all the dental stuff I need for a few years, because it soon racks up the price, doesn't it? It gets expensive. But I'll be honest, I like having teeth and I like them looking okay. So I guess I haven't really got no choice and I can't really complain. As well as the fill-ins and crown preparation work across the weekend, I also had my flu jab. I've been having the flu jab now for over 20 years. Initially as just an asthmatic, and now as a celiac I qualify for it. It makes sense. Since I've been having it, touch wood, I haven't had flu or really any bad colds at all, so I think it really does help, and I don't really get any ill effects from it either. I had my jab done by one of the new doctors at my local practice, someone who I'd not met before. She was lovely, fantastic, and so good I didn't even feel the needle go in. However, bearing in mind how I started talking about ages at the start of this episode, she looked so young and made me feel so old. I think that's the point you realise, isn't it? When you're going to see the doctor and they're so many years younger than you, really is quite sobering. Because I like to be fully protected against everything, because I haven't got any time to be ill, always so busy, always so much fun to be had and stuff to do. I have got my COVID jab booked in as well, getting that done on Monday. That is nice and quick, don't mind that, makes sense. Again, just keeps you well. I have had COVID, but it was so mild thanks to the jab. It was actually no worse than a cold. In fact, I'd had much worse colds over the years, so therefore I think that's totally worth doing. But what a couple of weeks, 2 trips to the dentist and 2 injections. That is just about it for this time. Just a quick reminder that you could hear my radio show Saturday afternoons between 2 and 4 at radio9springs.com. That is it now. Look after yourselves and each other. Take care, please, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.